personal awakening, that perhaps the one has to undergo a kind of nekia, am I saying that right? The kind of journey into darkness that that you have recently experienced, and I'm sure most of us have our own version of, and to come out the other side of that with a conclusion not being how do I achieve more as an individual, but how do I convey love? How do I convey Christ consciousness? How do I?
Let's start with that then. So first of all, everyone is now a TV producer and a radio host if they want to be. If you have a voice, you can communicate with. You have the technology to communicate with as many people as you want. So then the next question is, do you have the will, the ability, the desire, and all of that? But you certainly have the technological means. So it isn't that people have been rendered voiceless. They have in certain regards, but in other ways they're so powerful that it's absolutely beyond comprehension. And so, and I would say, well, I'm definitely of the mind that it would be best for everyone to orient themselves. And I've tried to figure out what that orientation would mean. And some of it is, and I've used history as my guide as much as I've been able to, philosophy and religious ideas, all of that, trying to puzzle this out. It's like, well, the love part is, okay, you have to decide. You serve someone, that's an old idea. It's Christ or Satan. Fundamentally, that's an archetypal reality. And what that means in some sense is that you're either working for the betterment of things because you're in favor of being and its flourishing, and perhaps even its playful and beautiful flourishing. You've decided that, despite the horrors of existence. Despite the horrors of existence that would drive you to resentment and bitterness and hatred and the desire to destroy, you've decided, no, I'm going to aim up. And that's love. It's like I'm going to aim up, and I'm going to bring everything I can with me. Okay, then the next thing is truth in service of that. And one thing I learned, I think, is that I tweeted something out the other day, and I see people all the time, and they have something they want, and then they use their language to get it. Okay, that's not how to use language. That's wrong. And the reason it's wrong is because why do you think that your theory about what you want is right? If it's wrong, then you're saying things that are wrong. And so I would say, instead, try this. Say what you believe to be true and accept what happens. And that's an adventure, man. You do that. You do that for 10 years, and your life will be so different that you won't be able to believe it. It's unbelievably adventurous to only say what you think is true right there and then, to be in that moment and to have decided that there's no agenda. I'm just going to say what I think, regardless of the consequences. And I don't mean carelessly. I really do not mean that. The absolute opposite of careless. You pay attention to every word. And the consequences are miraculous.
There's a kind of mysticism, I think, that you are describing. Firstly, the ability to remain entirely present. Secondly, the idea that you can respond authentically without an agenda of personal advancement. This requires, I think, a kind of transcendence. It certainly, from my understanding, would require a kind of ego death. The sort of energies that compete in me the tension seems to be between this sort of a very vivid sense of love and awakening and service and sort of values of which I'm quite proud, and still, I would say, I don't know if I would want to call them atavistic, but quite primordial, sometimes unformed, certainly libidinous, concupiscent sort of rushes, like that. I love the idea of living authentically and truthfully in a moment, and how sort of potent, radical, punk and effective, divine that could be, mischievous, tricksterish almost, and
right. Yeah, that's got the romantic element there because it's unpredictable. It's absolutely unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen. But if you let's say you have faith. Let's say you have faith. So let's figure out here what we mean by faith. So we're going to say, I have faith that if I act out the proposition that being should flourish and I should aid that, I'm going to risk my life on that proposition. That's going to orient me. I could be wrong, but that's going to be the direction of my life. And then I'm going to tell the truth in service of that. Well, the faith then is the acting out of that, is the actual uttering of the words, and the willingness to observe what emerges as a consequence. And you think, well, do you believe that love and truth prevails? Do you believe that? Oh, if you believe it, act it out. Well, then you act it out, and it's very unpredictable, and you do have to watch for the emergence of these counter positions that you describe. You believe it, so you act it out. You observe what happens, and you accept that as regardless of the consequences in some sense, by presuming to begin with that if it emerges as a consequence of the actions of love and truth, then it is by definition good, regardless of what you think at that moment. I mean, because you have to put your faith somewhere, right? Like,
Yeah.
because you don't know everything. You're stuck with it. So do you have a better theory than that? I can't find a better theory than that.